In this video, I wanted to do an opinion piece on desktop computers and whether or not you should build or buy a desktop PC, and kind of give a few tips along the way, especially if you're going to run Linux. So, to build or to buy, that is the question. Sorry for the Shakespeare reference. Hindsight. So, let's get into it. If you're not comfortable building a computer and wish to have one place to call for warranty support, then you should absolutely buy a pre-built desktop. If you don't have time to research the parts you want, or you just want to get a new PC, boot it up and get to work, then a pre-built desktop is the right way to go for you. But if you're a tinkerer and you want to have control over every single piece of hardware that goes into your computer, and you have time to research, and you want a better understanding of how it all works together, then building a PC is your kind of a mixed bag. If you look at pre-built computers at Best Buy or Walmart or Office Depot, etc., you're buying a known working system with Windows pre-installed. You're buying a known working system with Windows pre-installed, using the most cost-effective parts to hit a price point for them. Not necessarily the best choice, but if you're just doing office work like creating documents or spreadsheets or presentations, email, whatnot, the cheaper pre-built is probably the way to go for you. But a small piece of advice: make sure it has an SSD in it. So it's my opinion that if you're going to buy a pre-built computer to get work done, like photo work, video work, anything that can utilize a discrete GPU, or anything that's really CPU computationally heavy, and you know a little bit about the hardware you need, your money would be better spent on a custom pre-built computer. Places like iBuyPower, Digital Storm, Puget Systems, Falcon Northwest, System 76 if you're just into Linux like me, Origin PC, and well, the list goes on and on and on. Yes, these computers are more expensive than the cheaper pre-builts that are not specifically for gaming at Best Buy, but these types of places tend to use higher quality components, like higher-end motherboards and more feature-filled chipsets. These types of places tend to use higher quality components, like higher-end motherboards or more feature-filled chipsets. Better and faster processors with better cooling, and depending on the configuration, they can also be much quieter. They tend to have more powerful GPUs as well, which is better for gaming or render type workloads. They will still have a warranty and a single place to call to take care of warranty claims, just like the cheaper pre-builts. So I guess it's true as far as hardware is concerned. You get what you pay for. But for me, that belief goes only as far as the hardware. That is not at all my belief when it comes to software. If you're like me, a tinkerer, a person who wants to know everything about the individual components that make up the PC of my choosing, or your choosing rather, then clearly building your own computer is the way to go. When you build your own computer, you get a choice of all the components of your system, from the processor, the brand, the speed, the core count, PCI Express lanes, the everything. The motherboard, the brand, the chipset, the features, the layout, VRM quality, aesthetics, the cooler, once again, brand, type, size, quality, performance, silence, aesthetics, again, for RAM, brand, type, capacity, speed, latency. You're starting to see kind of a pattern here. If you choose to have a graphics card in your system, you can choose NVIDIA, AMD, a model for each one, the type of cooler, the performance you can expect. I mean, just about anything. And you can also add in optional cards for additional networking or storage, or accelerator cards, or additional USB ports, or about anything really. You can also choose your fans, the size, the quality, the performance of the fan, the aesthetics of the fan, if you want LED fans or just high quality fans like I would generally choose. You can choose your own power supply, the wattage, the configuration, and the efficiency. And of course, there's the case. The case is the most subjective thing in the whole build. What looks good to me may not look good to you. My computer that I just built, I think it's beautiful. You may not, but beauty is subjective. But you notice I said brand and aesthetics a lot. You can make it as brand loyal or agnostic or as pretty or as ugly as you want. If these things appeal to you, a system that you build is a better way to go than buying a pre-built system from a company. So if I haven't made my stance clear enough, I am a proponent of building your own computer. There's a flexibility given to you that isn't there in the other options. If you've picked your parts wisely, you can build much the same system as a pre-built from a company for less money. And since I focus mainly on Linux on this channel, for those who want to build a computer and plan on installing Linux on their system, I have a few tips. If you're going to buy brand new hardware, like at the time of the recording of this video, let's say you went with hardware much like mine. You went with a 3rd generation Ryzen AMD processor, or with a brand new AMD graphics card, like the 5700 XT. You're probably going to want to stick with a rolling distribution, like Arch or Manjaro, Arco Linux, OpenSUSE Tumbleweed, or the most recent Ubuntu. But the most recent Ubuntu is not rolling, but it's just new and has all the stuff. Whereas other distros like Debian and the LTS Ubuntus and Linux Mint, they tend to take a little while to update their kernels to the latest and greatest, as far as the hardware support and everything. So I'm not saying it can't be done. I'm actually running Debian testing right now with a Ryzen 9 3900X and a 5700 XT, but it takes a little work. But if you want to run Debian or the LTS Ubuntu or Linux Mint or something that relies on an older kernel or a slower moving distro, I have a couple of tips for you. Don't buy the very most recent hardware. If you're going for performance and you want to run a slower moving distro, I would go with probably something like a Ryzen 7 2700 or something along those lines. They've been out for a while. They're very well supported in Linux, and they give a really good out-of-the-box experience. If you want to go with Intel, the 9900K or the 9700 or the 90 whatever, those have been out long enough that they're well supported in Linux as well, in Debian and Ubuntu and all that. If you're going with an AMD system, which I highly recommend, that's where the value is, I would recommend going with last generation hardware, because that's going to give you a better out-of-the-box experience. Something like a Ryzen 7 2700X or a Threadripper 1920X, something along those lines, if you want to go for something very powerful. Those are my recommendations. Pair that with a nice B450, X470, or X399 motherboard, you're going to be set. If you want to go with that, you can go with either an AMD or an NVIDIA GPU. If you go NVIDIA, I would recommend going with the proprietary drivers, because the Novu open source drivers are kind of not great, but they are functional, but they're not going to give you all of the performance that the card is capable of. Whereas if you go AMD, all the drivers and everything are built into the kernel. So if you have a newer kernel, you get support for a newer card. Whereas if you have an older card, you can use, it's going to be supported further back in the past for older kernels. I've personally used Linux on both AMD and NVIDIA, and honestly, AMD tends to work a little better in my case. The performance is usually a little bit lower compared to the competitive NVIDIA card with the proprietary drivers, but out of the box, the AMD GPU with the open source drivers has been a pretty solid experience. Just be sure that you're going to use a very new kernel and very new Mesa and very new firmwares if you're going with a very new AMD card. Now, I've rambled on and on and on long enough. I'm going to show you a site that you may or may not have seen before. And we're going to take a look at it, and we're going to design our own computer today. Or not design, we're going to part it out. Let's swap over to my browser. This is PCPartPicker.com. This is a fantastic little website, and it has compatibility filters, and it's great. We're just going to go through and build a little computer real quick. We're going to go here to System Builder, and we can choose everything in the list. Let's choose a CPU. The Ryzen 5 3600. That's a 6-core, 12-thread, 65-watt processor. That's a fantastic little processor. But let's go for value. Let's do only Ryzen 5s. And let's sort it by price. There's a Ryzen 5 1600 for $111. That's also a 6-core, 12-thread processor for $111. That is insane compared to 5 years ago, 6 years ago. That is absolutely insane. You would have had to have gone with a high-end desktop platform from Intel 6 years ago or 5 years ago to get 6 cores on your desktop computer. And you can get that now for $111.96. That is nuts. But the performance of the 2600 to me is worth the $8. So let's add that one. It's going to come with a stock cooler, but that stock cooler is a little bit loud. Let's pick an aftermarket CPU cooler. The Cooler Master Hyper 212 Evo is a really good choice for this. Or if you wanted to go with something a little bigger, or go with a water cooler, anything in this list is already compatible with it because it has the compatibility filters already enabled. So tell you what, let's go with this Hyper 212 Evo. Now the motherboard also has the compatibility filters enabled. So it's going to just weed out all of the incompatible AMD boards and all of the Intel boards. We can even drill down further than that. We can sort by form factor, we can sort by color, chipset, memory type, all that stuff. So let's go with a B450. And let's look at price as well. Let's see, these are all micro ATX. Let's build an ATX system. ASRock B450 Pro for $93. It's a nice looking little board. Tell you what, let's go with that. Now the memory. Ryzen likes faster memory. And the lower the cache latency, the better. So let's put 16 gigs of RAM in it. For the older ones, 3200 speed is great. We're going to go with a 2x8 gig config. And we can sort this by price. Now the Gale, I can't pronounce that, or the Oloy. There's kind of a thing with Ryzen can be a little picky sometimes. A lot of stuff from G.Skill, ADATA, Corsair, and those types, they tend to have a little better compatibility as far as the chances of it just working. So tell you what, let's go with a G.Skill Ripjaws 16 gig kit for $70, which is once again insane, because when I built my computer was right after DDR4 was first released, and I paid like $200 for a 16 gig kit, and that was a 4x4 kit. Now for storage, we can use PCI Express storage with this. So let's drill down and find PCI Express storage. We're going to go with M.2s, the M-type, and NVMe, and let's do something 500 gigs or more. And we can even sort that by price as well. And I would recommend going with something from a reputable brand. The Intel stuff is nice, but if you want something that's going to be really high end and super fast, I would go with something like a Samsung or an ADATA or something like that. But if you wanted to go with the Samsung, that's way on down. That's way on down here. The 870 Evo Plus is $109. We can definitely do better than that. Let's go with the Intel 660p video card. We can go with, let's go with the 5700. Sort that by price. The cheapest one's $309. But if we wanted to get rid of that and go with, let's say, an RTX 2060, the cheapest one of those is $300 as well. So tell you what, let's go NVIDIA with this one. If you wanted to go with the EVGA is a really nice brand. Gigabyte's is a good brand. MSI as well. So it's kind of hard to go wrong. So let's stick around the $300 price point. Let's go with this one. That's the EVGA KO Gaming. That's actually the brand new card that was just released not too long ago. Now for the case. The case is going to be super duper subjective. I personally like the minimal, just black box cases, but I do like the fact that you can do high airflow in this type box too. So let's look at the Fractal Meshify C. Got a tempered glass side panel, a high airflow, ventilated front, power supply shroud, very nice cable management, 7 PCIe expansion slots, 2 included fans, very nice. But it's $100. The NZXT H510 is a much cheaper option. But I don't care for the white one. Let's look at the black box. Let's go with that. Now your power supply. If you notice up here, your estimated wattage is only 329 watts. But we've also haven't added any other storage to the system. And I would like to kind of compensate for that and go with something like a 550 watt power supply. That way, in case you want to overclock a little bit, or you want to add a more powerful graphics card or a more powerful CPU later, you don't have to swap out a power supply. So going with a little higher wattage and something that's got a good efficiency to it would be a really nice thing to do. So let's go with 80 plus gold, and we can do full and semi-modular, and let's go with the wattage at a minimum of 550 watts, and you can sort that by price. The Corsair TXM Gold, the EVGA Supernova GM, they're around $73, $74. And tell you what, let's add some more storage. Let's add a hard drive that is about, let's add a 2 terabyte hard drive. Okay, here is a Seagate Barracuda Compute. It's got a lot of good ratings, and it's only $50. Let's go with that. So right here is a great way to part out your computer. You can pick as powerful a processor or as low end a processor as you want, the cooler that you want, the motherboard that you want, the memory, the storage configuration, the graphics card, the case, the power supply. You can even pick which monitor. You can even look for monitors, external storage. They even have laptops in there now. So I mean, this is really, really nice. You can pick case accessories. You can add fans to it. headphones, keyboards, mice, speakers. I mean, and one thing that's really nice about this, if you look down here, if you look over here, they check prices at Amazon, B&H Photo, Walmart, Newegg, Monoprice, PCM. Here, Amazon, B&H Photo, Monoprice, Best Buy, Newegg, PCM. They check prices at a lot of different places. If you find, it will find the lowest price at all the places that it does look. So right here, my Ryzen 5 2600 is $120 at Amazon. But my motherboard is $89.99 with $3 shipping or $4 shipping from Newegg. Whereas here, it's $97 at Amazon. Going with these right here can save you a little money. And if you're going to, and if it saves you enough money, you can actually put that back into the computer or put it in your pocket. So if you're teetering right there on the edge of, let's say I was looking at the Ryzen 5 1600, but I was also looking at another one, at another processor or another type of graphics card or another motherboard. If you save that much money, you can actually upgrade that before you ever even order it. Because right here, we are actually sitting underneath a $900 PC right now. And this would be an awesome little computer. This would be capable of running virtual machines, handle any kind of office task that you want. You can record videos, you can stream, you can do literally about anything that you want to do with this computer. And it's $894. With mailing rebates, $886. But that's kind of incredible to me. You can edit 4K video with this, according to the Linus Tech Tips video that I watched the other day. This is a great little computer. It may be out of your price range, but you can take things out, you can switch things around. If you only wanted to go with 8 gigs of RAM, you could save yourself a few bucks. If you only wanted to go with one storage device, you can take that one out, and that drops your price down to $844. Or if you wanted to go with a different graphics card, you can go with, say, a 1660. Let's say you wanted to add that one. That brought your price down to $754. So I mean, this is a great website to port out any kind of computer build that you may be thinking about in the future. This is a wonderful, wonderful tool that you can use. So that's about all I've got for today. I just kind of wanted to talk a little bit about the differences between building and buying, and really and ultimately the choice is up to you. What kind of PC user are you? Are you the type that just wants to boot it up and get your work done, or do you want to learn a little bit along the way? And I can't answer that for you, but I know what my answer is. Thank you for watching. Y'all have a nice evening. Like, share, and subscribe. Type distro or an older, or if you, blech.